What is going on, everyone? Welcome back into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time Tickets. It's Brian Hines back as always with Alex Barth off a big-time blowout victory for the New England Patriots, 42-13. Barth, it's been a while since we had a game like that here in New England, especially at home at Gillette. I forgot they even played Glory Days after Patriots won at home. I heard Glory Days after the game, and I was like, oh, it's been a while.
Good to hear Glory Days.
So
do you know
a different feel, but a good feel for Mike Vrabel in that Patriots team.
And it just, look, the Panthers are not a very good team, and it's one win, and they've got a long way to go. But when you talk about getting back to that point, Mike Vrabel mentioned it would be a process. There's some boxes you just want to check as a team. Take care of games against beatable opponents, right? Beat up on the lesser teams. Don't just win, like beat up on them. You got to be able to win at home. You got to be able to start the year strong and end the year strong. And they obviously can't check the end of year strong box in this one. But Brian, and if you saw my tweet, admit it, don't cheat unless you already knew this. Do you know who the Patriots starting quarterback was last time they won a home game in the month of September?
You asked me in the press box after.
Oh, did we talk about this? Okay.
It was Cam Newton. So.
Cam Newton. That's correct. That's entire. So they only have now 4, but prior to yesterday, 3 home wins in the last, I think, 3 years either way. But especially in September, early in the year, against, like, that's entirely too long to go without winning at home in September. I think they'd won 14 of 15 prior to that. It was an 0-for-8 stretch they had after that week 3 game in 2020 against the Raiders. So it's, oh my God, they won at home in September, start the duck boats, print the t-shirts, hang the banners. No, but it's just, they had, and we've known this, a long way to go. And I think that that's a real step in the right direction.
Yeah. At some point you had to start kind of separating yourself from these other kind of bottom feeders. And, the Panthers have been in the top 10 in the draft with you the past couple of years. They picked Tet up there this year. So you had to start separating yourself from these teams. And to win 42-13 is exactly how to do that. Not just you have a big lead and then you kind of let them hang around and then you still win. Like, you kind of stepped on their throats, stepped on their necks when they were down and punished them. You kept the foot on the gas really throughout that whole game. You're going for it on 4th and 3 late in the game. Pretty ball from Drake to Diggs there, who we'll certainly talk about. But that was a game that, again, to get back to where Mike Vrabel wants to go and wants to take this team, these are the type of games that you do need to blow out. And there's a lot of these on the schedule when you look at it, right? Like the Cleveland Browns, the New Orleans Saints of this world. So hopefully this isn't kind of a one-off and you see a couple of these from the Patriots this year. But Barth, we are a month in now to this season, 2-2. Drake May, you look at the nerd stats, you look at the regular stats, he is kind of playing like a top 10 quarterback according to a lot of the numbers. So another really efficient game from him yesterday with all the punt returns. He only needed to drop back 21 times. I think he only threw 17 passes, went 14-17. So 3 incompletions, 3 total touchdowns, 2 through the air, 1 on the ground. How are you feeling a month into sophomore season of Drake May right now?
Feeling pretty good. And the volume's not there, but what he's doing with these limited opportunities has been great. And I just think he looks really comfortable. The accuracy is a big thing. Does he lead the league in completion percentage, or that he's up there first in that one?
He's first.
So a guy we had questions about accuracy, and he's and some of that is credit to Josh McDaniels. Like, he's creating some easy throws for him, certainly. But after that, it's really just that second half of week 1. The sprays have been way down. It's been better decision-making the last couple weeks. I thought his decision-making this week was great. Is it going to stay on this constant upwards trajectory? I don't know. We got a tougher defense next week. And we've known the whole time it's not linear, right? But if it continues big picture to progress this way, like you said, these are the tools of a top 10 quarterback. And we talked about it since the summer. The biggest box for Drake May to check in a macro sense, right? Obviously, he needs to cut down on the turnovers, which he's done, or did this week, I should say. But he just needs to be more consistent. Last year we saw flashes of incredibly high ability, but they were just that. They were flashes. You didn't get them on a consistent basis. It's much more consistent now. And yeah, their starting game's a little slow, and he's got to get better with that. But overall, I feel like you're looking at a much more consistent quarterback than you saw last year.
Yeah, like his first pass of the game, he kind of sprayed to Kayshon Boutte, but then after that, like he settles down and he pretty much pitched a perfect game after that. So he definitely has looked, you feel pretty good about where he's at for a month. And I think a lot of that, Josh McDaniels, like another great game plan from McDaniels yesterday, building things, setting things up throughout the game. The pre-snap motion rate was up there again. A lot of these moving pockets, bootlegs we've talked so much about, they got him on the move a couple times. It led to the scramble touchdown. It led to the Hunter Henry long touchdown where, the threat of May running is out there, draws two defenders. Then you see that athleticism takes over. He drops the arm angle, fits it in there. So credit to Josh McDaniels, a lot of this. And then even just the traditional drop back passing game, which is stuff we saw, Tom Brady, Mac Jones throughout the years. Like Drake looks really comfortable in that stuff too. And even, he's the best like statistical third and fourth down passer in football right now. And you saw a couple of those long conversions to Stephon Diggs. So he looks really comfortable in this offense. And I think you got to give a lot of credit to Josh McDaniels for what he's doing in kind of building this thing around Drake and his kind of dual threat mobility through the air and on the ground as well.
Yeah, again, it's been the full picture. I don't think you can say that he's leaning on anything or, there's outside of the volume, because it is only 4 games and he, threw less than 20 passes in this one. And you don't want too much volume either. Like we saw that in the Raiders game. It's not like there's just one thing he's kind of hammering. It's a well-rounded approach.
Yeah. And maybe one of the most impressive things is he's doing all this with like very little run game, traditional run game. Like they have not been able to run the football very well. I think they can probably get a little bit more both from their offensive line in terms of push and then backs after contact. It was interesting. First carry after he gets the start, Ramondre Stevenson after the 2 fumbled game. What did you think of that? And did you like how they kind of used the running backs? We heard Mike Vrabel say there weren't going to be any discipline for Mondre, but what did you think of him getting the first carry against Carolina, and then how they kind of used those backs throughout the game on Sunday?
So I said last week, I didn't care who was starting. I stand by it. I don't like, there's some ceremonial element there, but he played like significantly more snaps than any other running back. And Henderson's usage increased a bit. I think more of those snaps, though, probably came from Antonio Gibson than came from Ramondre Stevenson. So, but you see again why Stevenson makes an impact. His pass blocking, his ability to make defenders miss in the open field. He was one cut away from a 30-yard touchdown run. I did also like, we're starting to see some of Henderson and Gibson now. They've been running a lot of 2-back sets, which I like. Nothing against that. But it's been traditional 2-back pony, either offset I formation under center, which is a little out of the ordinary, using one of your running backs as a fullback. And then they've done that pony shotgun where there's a running back on each side of Drake May. But this was Henderson and Gibson lining up in the slot. And they ran those 2 plays in the second quarter that led to a touchdown. They run the jet sweep to Antonio Gibson. And then they come back on the very next play. They put Henderson in where Gibson was out wide. Motion Henderson, who obviously has the game-breaking speed. The entire defense goes with him. They fake it to Henderson. Now it's a stretch run to Ramondre off the backside, and Ramondre takes that for 22 yards. It's 43 yards in 2 plays, and I believe it's 2 plays later, Drake May scrambles in for the touchdown. So there you can continue to build off of that. Like, I want to see more of, and this all, obviously Stevenson's still got to hold on to the ball, but if you're confident with him in the backfield and those 2 guys used almost as wide receivers, I want to see more of that. I really liked that wrinkle that they put in.
Yeah. So it finished. Ramondre had 28 snaps, which was 57%. Henderson 15, 31%, and then Gibson 9, 18%. I would say, because that doesn't look very different in terms of just total snaps and percentages. The one difference, it kind of seemed like goal line, either when they were backed up on the goal line or going in on their own goal line, like it seemed like Antonio Gibson got more of those carries. He had the touchdown, and then the end of the first half when they were backed up after a really good punt. Gibson got those carries there until they got a little bit more breathing room. So maybe that was, we need Mondre. Vrabel said that they do. He's been their best pure back, so he still played 57% of the snaps. But in those situations, maybe that's how they kind of discipline them a little bit, is giving Gibson some of those goal line touches. But I do agree. I like how they set those things up with the motion. Again, going back to Josh and a really good game plan from him and continuing to build off that back-to-back plays, just building off that right there. So that was impressive. But we did see a shakeup in terms of snaps in the wide receiver room. We got a little more Stephon Diggs, 31 snaps up to 63%, and a lot less Pop Douglas, just 8 total snaps, 16%. And you saw the ripple effects. Stephon Diggs, 100-yard game, 101 yards, his 37th career 100-yard game. How do you think they used him in that connection? And do you think that's kind of the formula here for this wide receiver room going forward?
Yeah, I really liked it. I thought it was awesome. He did a ton of great stuff in this game, and his ability to be multiple and line up in different spots and run different routes. The more he's in this offense, the more comfortable he's going to get. I know he said he's 5 out of 10 familiar with the playbook after the game. I think that was a little tongue in cheek, but we've seen this from Josh McDaniels for a long time, that what the offense is in September is not what the offense is going to be in December. And it grows and evolves and it changes. And if Diggs is able to do a lot of these different little things, they can really get creative with that. So that was, was it the greatest game of Stephon Diggs' career? No, but it was just a really solid game. That's kind of the game. That sort of usage, that sort of production, like that's what I pictured when they signed him. Can you get that on a consistent basis? That would go a long way for this offense.
Yeah, that's the guy you envision when you give him that contract in the offseason. And I will say, and you hit on it, you mentioned they moved him around. I think a lot of people just saw the production from Diggs and a lot less Douglas and said, oh, they stuck Stephon Diggs in the slot and, he went off. He was actually in the slot less this week than he was the past few weeks. They did move him around a lot at the Z. I believe that back shoulder, he was even playing the X, that very pretty back shoulder ball on 4th down. So they moved him around a lot. The big difference was they started targeting him downfield a little bit more. Like his average depth of target this week doubled than it was over the first 3 weeks of the season. So they got him going downfield, and you saw that connection between him and Drake kind of take off there. So you hope that can continue to build and they get those results there. Where are you at with Pop on the other side of that? Do you think he's just going to kind of become this situational man-to-man coverage player? We know he can win on man-to-man coverage. He did get credit for a couple blocks from Vrabel, including taking out 2 guys on that Hunter Henry long touchdown. But do you think we're just at the point now where Pop Douglas is a situational guy in this offense?
Yeah, I mean, credit to him for still stepping up the few times he was on the field. Those are big blocks, got Hunter Henry in the end zone. I'm sure that goes a long way with the coaching staff, but the reality is right now the offense is better with him not on the field. And you still got to get Kyle Williams going at some point. So, yeah, I think his role at this point is probably gadgety player. I'd like to see them maybe drop some stuff for him. Those end arounds I just mentioned, they're doing with the running backs. They do some of that for him. Maybe he gets more involved on special teams in some way, but the results were there. Like something clicked without him on the field.
Yep, definitely. And Kyle Williams got one of those end arounds, which he was very close to breaking that, except Mac Hollins, who had to hold the block for a while, got kind of pushed back. So I'm with you with Kyle Williams too. Get him more involved, get the football in his hands. But yeah, it does seem like that's where we're kind of trending with Pop Douglas right now, especially with Diggs looking the way he did with more snaps there. So anything else, skill guys? Good game from Hunter Henry, Austin Hooper. That's what we kind of just expected with those tight ends. But anything else skill wise or that offensive line? Good game from that offensive line. I know the
really
Panthers,
good game from the offensive line.
Again, kind of fit in the whole Panthers theme, like not the best pass rush in the world, but to take care. Just kind of take care of what you should take care of, and it was a good performance from the offensive line and pass pro specifically, keeping Drake May upright for most of that game.
Yeah, and finishing in the run game, and I talked about this with David Andrews. That pod will be up at 6:00 on the Sports Hub YouTube page and Patriots Hub podcast. Will Campbell comes right out and finishes his block on the first snap of the game, away from the play, and they get down near the goal line. Him, Ben Brown, Mike Onwenu, they're finishing their blocks. Like Yeah, the Panthers front isn't great, although Will Campbell went against Nick Scorton, who was a high pick in the draft and a player a lot of people like. But I think that's the kind of thing that you build on and you move forward and kind of like a layup, right? You see that going and you feel good. And yeah, you're going to have a bigger challenge, but it can help just to see what it looks like when it's going right.
Yep. And I'll give credit to Ben Brown too. Steps in for Jared Wilson. He got beat once or twice kind of late in the game, but really good, like out in space on the move. Had a couple really nice blocks on some of those screens, including the Austin Hooper lawn screen. And then 2 of the goal line runs. Him buried the guy with Will Campbell on Antonio Gibson one and led the way on Travion Henderson one. So they got him in space a lot again on those screens, pulling him a lot. And do you feel pretty confident with Ben Brown kind of being like kind of your new Ted Karras, like this super sub along the interior? He can play center, he can play guard spots.
Yeah, I mean, we saw what he can do last year when he has, he's on the field for an extended period of time. So as far as backup interior offensive linemen go, and now seeing that he can play guard, which he hadn't done a ton in the NFL, I think you have to feel good about it.
Yeah, I'm with you. So I thought that was a pretty impressive showing from Ben Brown there. Going back to Pop, someone asked in the chat here, do you think he could be a potential trade target? This Commander Ray says maybe for a linebacker help or maybe a different wide receiver. I know a lot of people are talking about AJ Brown. I don't think that's going to be the package, but could you just see if it's still trending this way with Pop by the trade deadline? Could he potentially be a trade target, do you think?
Yeah, I'm getting asked about the Patriots trading like 7 or 8 different players. Everybody needs to just calm down with that. Maybe in the offseason. I don't know that he's a guy you trade mid-season.
Yeah. Unless you're really confident in one of the rookies taking on more of a role, but still, yeah, probably feels like an off-season thing. So, but we'll see what happens. So, anything else offensive wise from that one?
I think that's pretty much it.
All right, let's jump over to the defense, but very quickly, of course, before we do that, got to talk about our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. Barth, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. And Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player staff projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. We have a Monday night double header. It's probably going to be an ugly one, so maybe you want to spice up the action there with Prize Picks. We got Jets, Dolphins, Bengals, Broncos. Don't even ask who the best quarterback is in any of those. Might be Bo Nix or Tua. I don't know. So we got Jake Browning versus Bo Nix and Justin Fields versus Tua. So should be a wild Monday night doubleheader there. So make sure you guys head over to Prize Picks. And also they offer injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. So download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup, all over on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. All right. If you had to pick one of those 4 quarterbacks tonight, who are you picking? Fields, Tua, Jake Browning, Bo Nix.
Probably Browning, honestly.
Jake, yeah. Maybe, yeah, honestly, that is rough going. So, Patriots will see.
While we're talking weird quarterback stuff, I'm saying, if you guys have seen me laughing, my buddy sent me this. Have you seen the tweet about Jackson Dart from one of the Giants writers? Or it's Connor Hughes that he does Jets and Giants.
Was it the one about like him and Dayball in the locker room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe that's real. We don't need to read the whole thing on the air. Like, I won't even do it justice. We would need to play music, but like, go look it up. That's insane.
It's like a love novel. I was literally they read it on Part of My Take this morning, and they put in like the romantic background music in the background. Like it was pretty funny. It's
that's after the video of Dart and Dayball on the sidelines yesterday. So I saw people like tweeting, making fun of it. I'm like, wow, this is really catching on. But I didn't see there was like a real tweet about it. And somebody, the best one I saw, somebody quote tweeted it and said like, most sane rookie quarterback tweet of all time.
Yeah, they that's the hug you give someone who might maybe save your job there. But that tweet is something. It's like a love story right there. So good for Jackson Dart, I guess, and Brian Dayball. But Back to Pat's Panthers. Barth, Panthers get the ball. They go 7 plays, 76 yards, and score right out of the gate. And I think all of us are kind of sitting up there and going, oh boy, this again. Now that Patriots defense rebounded very nicely, but this is the second straight week that they've kind of come out slow. Pittsburgh built up a 14-0 lead last week. So are you concerned about these slow starts, or is it like it doesn't really matter in a sense if they're just going to play kind of lockdown defense from 2 to 4? Where are you kind of at with these slow starts right now?
I mean, it's, especially at home, especially opening drive touchdowns in 3 games at home, like you got to be better. And look, Vrabel's kind of spun it as, if we allow, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here and exaggerating a little bit, but like if you allow a touchdown on the opening drive of every game and that's all you allow, you only give up 7 points, you're going to win most of your games, which like, okay. And again, I'm exaggerating for effect there, but like he doesn't seem too worried about it because of the way they're improving later in games. And he's right. Like it hasn't beat them yet. And credit to the coaching staff for coming up with adjustments and figuring things out. And like, that's not easy to do, but it's going to be a lot harder to do once you get to like the Bills and later on the Ravens and the Bengals, if Burrow's back and like that sort of thing. Like some of these elite offenses, you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. So they do need to be quicker with some of these adjustments and just come out better. The one thing I wonder, Christian Ellis got benched again, 2nd game in a row, got benched last week for Jack Gibbons. They go back to him in this game. He struggles early. Gibbons goes back in. I actually thought Jack Gibbons played very well in this game. It was one of their best defensive players. Does that switch become permanent? How does Jelani Tavai fit in when he comes back from IR, which he's eligible to do this week? So a number of different ways they go about this. There might be some other things we're not even thinking about, but eventually you got to get out of the habit of these slow starts on defense. Like it's just something that it's not at the top of the checklist. Again, they have a long way to go in turning this thing around, but it's now becoming one of their bigger issues, right? When you can't move the ball on offense, that's a bigger problem. But now if the offense is clicking a little bit, that might be the next big step, is get the defense going out the jump.
Yeah, it seemed, listening to the players after the game, even today, Jack Gibbons was talking about it. It's the scripted plays, which, a team like Carolina, they've been practicing that all week. They know they're going to work, and it works. And then you make the adjustments and kind of shut them down. But now you play the better, like the Bills of the world, and they're going to say they're going to come back to these repeat plays. And it is kind of the same repeat plays. It's a lot of, runs to the edge, targeting Caleb on Chase on Keon White. It was a lot of short passes where then, you have to come up and tackle. And, the tackling was better yesterday, but that's been an issue at times this year. So it's the repeat plays. So then you're worried when you play these better offenses, are they just going to keep kind of burning you with those? So that's where kind of the concern would be from where I'm at right now. But it was a better, I know Carolina, I think they drove it like 6 of 8 drives into Patriots territory or something like that. I don't think I wrote that down, but they did move the ball fairly well. Then there were a couple, weird play calls from Dave Canales, some 3rd and long runs and stuff like that. But it's just, playing better offenses in those repeat plays that have kind of come back to get them. So you mentioned the linebackers. I do wonder how Tavai kind of fits in. Seems like he's going to be ready to go this week, although you're playing Josh Allen and then a mobile quarterback really the first time, and James Cook, who is on an unbelievable start to the year at running back. Like, do you want a little bit more athleticism there at running back? So the run defense has kind of burned them at times, and now you're getting play your really first athletic quarterback of the year in Josh Allen. So that will be kind of interesting how they kind of match up in the run game here moving forward.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that about specifically Tavai returning against the Bills. I think there is a little bit of back and forth there because you want the athleticism to deal with Allen, but Cook breaks tackles very well.
Yeah.
And Tavai's, who knows where he's at first week coming back from the injury, but I would just say on paper, right, he's probably the most sure-handed tackling linebacker besides Spillane, who's going to be out there one way or the other. It's about who's next to him. So maybe that's more situational, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what they do with that.
Yeah, I wonder if this if it is situated like this is a Marte Mapu week maybe against the Bills, and then when you're against more non-mobile quarterbacks, it becomes Jelani Tavai kind of territory to get maybe a better consistent tackler. I will say Spillane was much better in this one, so seemed like maybe those early season missed tackles were just an anomaly.
He feels like he's settling in a little bit.
Definitely. So he looks much more comfortable there. So that was promising. But the big story on defense, Christian Gonzalez back, didn't seem like any restrictions, didn't really miss a beat, played 49 snaps, really only came out of the game then when a lot of starters did when the game was in hand. So just good to see him back. Some expected rust, especially on that, first couple of drives against Tet McMillan, but just good to see Gonzo back. What'd you think of him? And do you think now that he's back, they kind of need to lean more into this man-to-man, cat-to-cat coverage? Because it did seem like him and Carlton Davis kind of just stuck to sides for most of the afternoon.
I think more of that might be, and I'll give this one of the few instances where I'll give the Panthers coaching staff credit. The one play where he really got beat, they run a comeback early on with Tet McMillan on the left side, and guys coming off a hamstring injury, you want to test him. What do you make him do? Like, think about defending a comeback in man coverage. What do? You're putting your foot in the ground and you're really firing forward and changing direction very quickly. And that's going to test that hamstring. So, yeah, they tested him with that route. It made sense. They got him there. He pretty much held Tet McMillan in check from there. Bryce Young helped him out a little bit with some inaccuracy. But the big thing to me, and you mentioned it with Christian Gonzalez, he played 49 snaps and probably would have played more. I think probably could have played the whole game based on how he was looking, but obviously they, and I think smartly, pulled their starters late when they got a big lead. So that's good. But this isn't going to be something where conditioning wise, he has to ease back in. And I do think there's probably a game or two where he just has to get back up to game speed. That's probably something. And you hope you get a better performance out of him against Buffalo, because you're going to need it. But it's not going to be something where, like, all right, he played 20 snaps this week, so play 30 next week, then 45. And like, no, it seems like he's back. He's good to go. And now he's just got to get in a rhythm.
Because we talked about, could it just be a package of plays, right? Like just third downs, 2 minutes, stuff like that. Not the case at all. Like, he was out there, he was ready to go. Just good to get his feet wet under him and then kind of turn the page to Buffalo. The other good thing I'll say Carolina kind of did schematically is if you're not, if you're sticking to sides and not following, there was a snap or two where they moved Tet McMillan in the slot. And we even saw this with the Patriots in camp at times. They would get receivers matched up against safeties. Like the Panthers got Tet lined up on Jalen Hawkins, which is a mismatch. Hawkins did well for the situation and kind of limited them, but other teams could kind of take advantage of that if you're not going to, move your corners around and play straight man to man and move Gonzo into the slot if Tet's in there. So they matched up. They got a good matchup with the safety. So that's something to maybe monitor just moving forward if teams try to take advantage of that. But again, just good to see Gonzo back out there. Last thing on defense, I got Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, just weekly beast update. Just both of those guys, awesome. That I know no sacks, even though Milton Williams kind of got Caleb Chase on a sack, chasing Bryce Young down, and then Barmore, a couple drawn holds, a couple pressures. Like, both of those guys are just absolutely dominating along the interior there.
Yeah, and it seems like the game plan every week is something along the lines of defenses are going to focus on one and take one out, and then the other wrecks the game. It was Barmore getting most of the attention to start season. I think yesterday the Panthers maybe threw a little more attention at Milton Williams than previous teams had, and that allowed Barmore to and Barmore had still done some stuff. Even when he's being double teamed, it's just being double teamed. He's not able to do as much outside of occupy that second blocker. I thought yesterday he got a few more opportunities. Vrabel talked about it today. He's come close to a couple sacks, didn't get there, and you don't want him to get discouraged, but he's absolutely impacting the game. So that duo, and then Khyiris Tonga, like, let's throw Khyiris Tonga in there too. He's been really good, and he's been able to capitalize off the two of those guys being explosive. So that group just really in sync right now.
And they got Tonga more snaps. They played like Harold Landry off the ball a couple times just to get Tonga some more snaps in there. And
I like that.
Had a hurry and a batted pass. So Tonga has played really well. Barmore, you see, even though there's no sacks in the stat sheet, like a lot of pressures, drew a hold, should have drew another hold. He got taken down and they didn't call it. And then Milton Williams, you mentioned the double teams. I think he was double teamed 10 times, which was, I think, the most in the year or second most in the year for him. So teams are starting to pay a little bit more attention to him. And you can't double both those guys all the time. You got to, pick your battles. So one of them is going to have an opportunity to feast, and you're absolutely seeing that. So definitely big plays by those two guys to start the year. Milton Williams worth all the money so far. So that has been very good to see. So anything else? Last thoughts, defense? Anything, or move on?
Craig Woodson had a really good game. I thought Craig Woodson played well, just for what that's worth.
Yep. Especially, the first touchdown was over him, and he bounced back, kind of settled in after that, almost had his first interception as well. So good to see Craig Woodson kind of settle in there. But we got to wrap up, of course, with Marcus Jones and the special teams. But before we do that, if you want to see Marcus Jones at a game sometime, Game Time is where you get your tickets. All your football tickets on Game Time, and the Game Time app gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps. It's incredibly easy to use, and the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price, plus fees are always included. So what you see is what you pay. Big one in Buffalo Sunday night. First of 3 straight road games for the Patriots, which could be a challenge, but $249 is the cheapest get in on the Game Time app for that Sunday night battle in Orchard Park. Then Patriots will be down in New Orleans. That game actually just got flexed to 1 p.m. from the 4:30 window. $32 is the cheapest get in. Great price there. And then after that, Patriots at Titans down in Nashville. Titans aren't looking too hot. Brian Callahan, who knows if he'll be coaching that at that point. $50 is the cheapest get in on the Game Time app there. So great prices, and those are going to go down the closer we get to kickoff, of course. So make sure you guys take the guesswork out of buying all your football tickets, college and NFL, with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. All right, Barth, how awesome is Marcus Jones at punt returner?
I mean, that was unbelievable. And really, the first one that's not the usual punt return team in front of him. It's essentially the starting defensive front. I don't know if they did. Vrabel talked after the game something about, well, sometimes you want to get back and block. Sometimes you want to get a better push up front. I think that was more they were planning for a fake punt, because the Panthers ran the ball. I don't think it was exactly 3rd and 10. It was like 3rd and 9, 3rd and 12, somewhere in that range, but 3rd and long. And the Panthers ran the ball. Milton Williams gets a stuff. Underrated play in this game. Credit to Milton Williams. I think the Panthers are trying to run the ball to set up like a 4th and 5 so they could go for it, because they were just on the plus side of the field. Right. So Mike Vrabel's probably thinking in the back of his head, well, if they're already thinking about going for it, it's a little longer, but let's throw some starters out there on defense, keep everything in check. We don't want to let this get away from us here. But those guys don't really know how to block a punt. On top of that, I think everybody on the field thought Marcus Jones was going to fair catch it. So he doesn't have his usual blockers. They're not particularly set up well. He's got guys right on top of him. Breaks a couple tackles, cuts back. I mean, that's I get it, ultimate team game, and nothing happens without all 11 guys. I get it. And there are some good blocks on that play. I don't want to say everybody was just standing there sucking their thumb, because that's hardly the case. But that's kind of this one-man band of a punt return touchdown, as you're going to see, right? So, and then the second one just got tripped up by the punter. Did you hear during the Patriots posted the video of him getting the game ball, and somebody's Vrabel gives him the ball and somebody yells speech, and right before he starts talking, he gets quiet for a second. Somebody yells, "Look out for the kicker." So he knew it. He said when he talked to his post game, he's going to get some of that.
Yeah,
but
he knew it.
Freaking weapon, man, back there, and super fun to watch. And I don't know why the Panthers kept kicking to him. He had a return. He had a third return, and people aren't talking about because it was only 19 yards. They're that was kind of sneaky, nice return too. 19-yard punt return in a close game is a huge freaking deal.
Yeah.
So will the Bills kick to him next week? Will they avoid him? He's a weapon. He's a weapon, man. And great stuff by him this week.
Yeah. I mean, 19 yards, he said post game, and I think Springer has told us in the past, the goal on the punt return is just to get 1 first down, right? Get 10 yards. So a 19-yard return is great. And then he breaks off the 61-yarder and the 87-yard touchdown to go with it. So it was 167 total yards, which was a Patriots franchise record. So unbelievable performance, just absolute weapon. As you said, if he's healthy, he should be the all-pro punt returner, I would imagine, unless teams just absolutely stop punting him the football and he doesn't get any more returns. But you would imagine he's kind of trending towards another all-pro. And that the gray unit, the gray package, that punt return with kind of the big guys, was an interesting wrinkle. And I don't know if I agree with you. Like when they did the run on 3rd and long, I thought they were going for it. Like maybe they were, and Vrabel was in consideration, but they used that kind of heavier punt return unit one time last week against Pittsburgh, and then they used it a couple times again, even after that one and this one. So maybe that is just a package they're going to go to for different looks on the punt team, kind of unique there. So encouraging stuff there with the return game. Just good Andy Borregales, 6 of 6 extra points. A busy day for not having to kick a field goal, and he made all of them. And they seemed to kind of handle. They didn't get many kickoffs, but they seemed to kind of handle the one knuckleballer that came at them. So good stuff there from the special teams department. 2 questions here to wrap it up. We have one in the chat from Gabe, super chat. Thank you very much, Gabe. He said, Barth, what week would you begin to worry about Kyle Williams? I imagine just getting him more involved in the offense, getting him some touches, only 2 targets, 2 catches. So is there a point in this season where you're like, okay, if Kyle Williams isn't contributing more than he is now, maybe a more consistent, steady role, are you going to be worried about him?
Yeah, I don't know that there's like an exact week that I could give. It's more just if the offense gets stagnant and he's not out there, like, okay, why not? If they need an answer and he's not the answer, what happened? Because that's basically what happened with Javon Baker last year. Yeah. They needed a spark, and we kept asking, like, is this the week Javon Baker plays? He never did. And we find out later, like, it was having trouble with the playbook and things like that. So there was a legitimate answer to that question. But obviously once he gets out there, you want to see him start producing, and you don't want him to have a long ramp up, but I think they'll get him on the field eventually. They're not just going to burn that pick. I would hope not. It's just, I've talked about it, not to go back to this discussion. Like if Efton Chisholm jumps him, a guy that didn't get, and nothing against Efton Chisholm, but a guy that didn't get any reps with the first team in the summer and was undrafted. Like, was he just that unbelievable that he passed Kyle Williams? Because we didn't even see him with Drake May in the summer. Saw Kyle Williams a little bit. So I don't know. It's an exact week. I'd like to see him get going into the second half of the season. I don't know. So call it week 9. Like hopefully he's out there week 9. But yeah, it's a little more abstract than that. I think it's just you want them to find a role for him sooner rather than later.
Yeah, it's tough to just pinpoint an exact week in the season. It's just, as you said, like if the offense isn't performing and they need that burst and spark, like is that Kyle Williams or are they looking elsewhere for that? So I wish it wasn't the week 14 bye still, because it would be kind of nice.
Right.
To see,
it'd be easy.
Let's come back after a week 10 bye and see if they get their rookies a little bit more involved. The week 11 game is Thursday night. So they have a longer week after that. So maybe like week 12, then week 13.
So now I think we're getting, I will say, I think we're getting maybe a little too complex here. We're treating it like a quarterback change.
100%.
I don't want to be like this blunt about it. I was trying to avoid being this blunt about it, but it's like when somebody gets hurt and you're obviously not rooting for an injury. And it'd be great if they can just, especially if Diggs is going to keep playing this way and Booty's going to keep playing this way, they just roll with those guys. And Matt Collins is your big blocking wide receiver. And then it's Williams and Douglas just sort of rotating in a little bit. Basically what they did yesterday. Like if you get that, great. And yeah, Kyle Williams didn't have a big rookie year, but they're throwing the ball well. It's the NFL. We know that's not how it is. Somebody's going to go down at some point. And, you look at it. All right, it's Booty, Diggs, and Matt Collins. Those are their main 3 guys. Based on yesterday, and we need to see this for a couple more weeks before you really stamp it home. But, okay, maybe Kyle Williams is past Pop Douglas as the 4th wide receiver. But they're really rotating 3 heavily. And that 4th guy checks in here and there. If you lose one of those top 3, what happens with Kyle Williams at that point? That's when I'll be really looking to see like where his game's at.
Yeah. I do think it's encouraging that when he is out there, they're like working touches to him in the limited action. Like he had the end around, even one of the plays, it was down by the goal line, I think before Gibson's touchdown or one of the touchdowns. Like Kyle Williams was the only receiver out there and he ran the only route. I think Henry and Hooper kind of leaked out into the formation, but it looked like maybe that was a play designed to get Kyle Williams, but it was good coverage and Drake kind of had to eat it. So when he is out there, he's either, they're using his speed vertically to clear stuff out, or they're trying to work him some touches underneath. Maybe at some point they do just have to throw one of those deep ones to show that to defenses and get them to respect it. They were going to throw that one on the first drop back in Miami, and they had him. Unfortunately, it was a long developing play, and Drake got sacked. But I do think when he's out there, it's encouraging that he's getting some looks and getting some touches. But you just got to kind of wait and see what happens with those guys above him right now, it seems like. So we'll keep seeing what happens with Kyle Williams. Barth, my last question to you. Playoffs, wild card, Tuesday night, Red Sox, Yankees.
Yes.
What a time. Red Sox, Yankees, and Patriots primetime Sunday night. Boston sports at its best, maybe, right? I mean, not at its best. We've seen it at its best, but any hope in the Red Sox in the playoffs right now?
What is the who's favored in the series? I think the Yankees are favored tomorrow night.
Really, with Crochet pitching?
Actually, that's a good question. I don't know. Let's see. Hang on. Let's find out.
It's Giolito is not on the roster,
right? So that hurts. Yeah, the Yankees are just favored tomorrow night. For the series, I'm not seeing the whole series, but here, postseason. All right, I'm not going to scroll through all this live on there.
I got it. Red Sox, Yankees are favored to win. They're minus 165. Red Sox are plus 135.
I mean, I like Crochet against Max Fried tomorrow. I like that. Bayo's been good against the Yankees. I'm petrified of a bullpen game in Game 3. I'm worried about that. So, we've seen the Yankees in the playoffs. We've seen Aaron Judge in the playoffs. Now, it's not October, so maybe he can trick himself into thinking it's the end of the regular season. But how do you not feel good against not feel good? Because, obviously, you don't feel good about Red Sox Yankees, but, we've seen what this Yankees team can turn into in the playoffs. And they don't do it every round, right? Obviously, they got to the World Series last year, but they were trending in the wrong direction going into the end of the season. I think the Red Sox got a couple of big wins late that they didn't have the best end of the year either, but they ended on a high note. So if Bregman's healthy and Bayo can continue to pitch the way he has against the Yankees, I feel okay about it. This is going to be a real deal series. This is going to be a real deal heavyweight series. I wish it was just one game. I missed the wild card, one game winner go home. Those games are awesome. So
especially with Crochet on the mound.
Right. Hopefully they get back to that at some point, or just go to a fourth division and go to the old NFL format, which would be great. But should be a lot of fun. How do you feel over on the Boston Sportsman? How do you feel about your Bruins as they start training camp?
Oh man, I don't even know what to expect from them. My expectations this year are low, but if they win a couple games out of the chute, I'll probably get pretty excited. But Swayman's playing tonight, full game, so that'll be interesting. The thing with them is they're gonna need pretty much everything to go perfectly right. Pasta to be 100-point guy, him to elevate Geeky, score at least 25 goals again. You're going to need McAvoy to bounce back, Swayman to bounce back. It sounds like Hampus Lindholm has been good off the knee injury, but that's kind of a scary injury. You saw Kevin Miller get knocked out with that, so they're going to need Hampus Lindholm, and then they're going to need a couple of these young guys. It looks like Blumel's going to make the team. Is Potter going to emerge? They're going to need a couple young guys. And that's just all probably to get a wild card spot. So there's obviously, a severe lack of goal scoring, not a lot of talent. So they're going to need pretty much everything to go right and the power play to be really clicking for it to all work, or they're probably just going to find themselves back in the lottery.
Yeah. I mean, that might be best for them at this point.
Yeah, but hey, if everything does go right, and we're talking James Hagan's coming up in late April for a playoff push, I'll be all for it. I'll be right here all for it. I'll be ready for it. But Tatum also alive. That's good to see, right?
Yeah. Hey, all right. Evan thinks he's going to be back for the preseason. So I think everybody needs to pump the brakes a little bit. I've said this
there's so many Twitter doctors now, but one Twitter doctor is pretty consistent.
He said October. I saw that.
Yeah. With
I'll say this.
Surgery within 24 hours and everything. He's he could be back October, which is aggressive, but
I don't need to see Tatum at 85% even in December, January. I just don't need to see it. There's difference between being cleared and being 100%. If the doctor's yeah, he can go, he can play, but he's not fully back. No, zero reason for that. And Tatum talked about this the other day. And it's easy to say now, but the Celtics might need to protect him from himself a little bit when you get to that point. Not uncommon for teams to have to do with players, but like he's got to get to 100% before he plays, because if he re-aggravates that, I mean, we saw it with Kevin Durant. If he re-aggravates that, it's going to be a massive problem. So the East blows. They still have Jaylen Brown and Derek White. Like, if you want to start talking about the playoffs, just get in. And on those two alone, you're going to get in. Like, all the talk about the Celtics could tank and the lottery, that was never happening. Not with Jaylen Brown, Derek White on the team. They would have had you'd think they blew up the roster. Like, they would have had to really blow up the roster to do that. I'd rather obtain him 100% for late playoff push and then the playoffs than try to rush him back early so you can, get home court advantage in the first round or something like that. Like, no, it's got to be 100% before he comes
100%.
back. Do not rush him back. Even if he's 99%, he can miss one more game. Like, get him back to full health.
Definitely agree. Although, are we worried about Jaylen Brown's wrist all of a sudden? He's not throwing a football with his right wrist, right hand. Did you see that?
Apparently, he does like a lot of things lefty.
Yeah,
so I guess throwing a football is one of them. I don't know if he's like, he wears number 7. He's from Atlanta. Might be a big Mike Vick fan.
Finally working on that left hand.
Right.
In the off season.
I'd say the same thing with Jaylen Brown, because he had surgery too, right, on that wrist. I think at the end of the season.
Didn't he have? Wasn't he meniscus, or did he have a wrist too?
I thought he had a wrist thing. But that's another one where, like,
he definitely had a meniscus injury, right? Or am I just completely making something up?
No, you might be right. He underwent wrist surgery in 2021. He had some surgery at the end of the year, but he's always had a weird thing with his wrist. Yeah, he had knee surgery. You were right. Okay. Either way, knee surgery, wrist surgery, whatever, same thing. If Jaylen Brown has to miss the first month of the season, fine. If they start 5-10 before Brown comes back, they can climb out of that in a bad conference and to get those guys. I want those guys fully healthy. You don't need to get those guys hurt on what's ultimately a rebuilding year.
Yep, I agree. I think doesn't Tatum always have a funky wrist thing? Is that what you might be thinking of? Isn't his wrist?
Oh, you might. Yeah, you might be right.
Yeah, those guys in their wrists, weird. But yeah, get those guys healthy and wait till they're fully healthy and then get them back out there. So, yeah, fun stuff. Good Boston Sports Minute. Basketball.
How about that BC loss on Saturday?
Oh, yikes.
Songapulatelli might be the real deal, though. I worked sidelines for the game, so I got to see him in person. I know it's all the hype now. It's kind of the in thing, but the changing of the arm slots for a true freshman, unfreaking believable. And doing it on the run, like, I'd love to see him stay at Cal for 3 years and, screw the transfer portal, get that program built up, maybe get some wide receivers transferring there. But I selfishly, I'd love to see what he does at an SEC school. I think he could be, this true freshman class. You have, why am I blanking on the kid at Michigan?
Oh, on Bryce
Underwood. You have Songapulatelli, and then Malik Washington at Maryland has also been like sneaky fun to watch, and he has them unbeaten. So we might be looking, because this year's quarterback class is not going to be all shaped up to be. This is why I always say, quarterback. I know we need a quarterback, but next year's class is better. A lot can happen in a year. This year's quarterback class doesn't look great. Next year, we'll see.
Except Mendoza. I like Mendoza this year.
Yeah, he's just like, there's a ceiling on him. He might be like Jared Goff-ish, I guess, isn't bad. Redraft, did you take Jared Goff first overall?
That year?
Or just in general? Like, if you knew that you were going to get what Jared Goff has been, would you take him first overall?
Honestly, probably, right?
All right, so fair enough.
A lot of games.
So Mendoza's not bad. Next year's going to be Arch. Who knows what happens there? The year after might be special.
The real moneymaker class.
So that would be would that be class of the 20? No, wait, the 2028 NFL draft. Yeah, because this year's group is the 26 draft.
Yeah.
Next year's group would be 27. So it'd be the 2028 NFL draft. We should not be talking quarterbacks then, one way or the other.
Doesn't look like we are. Doesn't look like we will be.
Nope.
So
maybe backups. Maybe backups. Who knows how long Josh Dobbs plays?
Yeah, maybe backups. So we got Cutlets. Tommy Cutlets is pretty young still, right? He could be around still by.
Well, his contract's almost up.
Yeah.
How many years? Because this is year 3.
Yeah.
Because Pop Douglas' draft class. So he's going to be free agent soon. Do you want to pay a backup quarterback? There's some backup quarterbacks I like actually in college football right now. Guys that like I wouldn't draft to be a starter, but like Josh Hoover could be a fun backup. I think would be a good backup for Drake May. I don't know. Yeah. I know he had a lot of hype after the first week. I don't know quite where he is at this point. Sawyer Robertson's interesting. He's got some arm talent. You believe in Luke Altmaier at all?
Not really.
Fair enough. I did forget. There is one more quarterback for this year, maybe next year. Dante Moore.
Dante Moore. Yeah.
He's really impressive. Yeah.
Been impressive.
He's a redshirt sophomore, so he's technically eligible to come out, but usually those guys go back to school. But if he knows he's going to be, top 10 pick,
could shoot out of there because Drew Aller has not looked good.
Drew Aller has been. I saw somebody tweeted the other day. Drew Aller is the most New York Jets 4th round pick of all time
because he's just like Hackenberg again, right? Like he's the same thing.
A little more athletic, but yeah. They took Hackenberg in the 2nd round.
Yeah,
he's just like he's really athletic. He's got a big arm. He has no idea what he's looking at. None. He's not super accurate. I don't think he has a ton of poise. Like, I know, big arm, not accurate. It's Joe Milton. Joe Milton, I think
captain, overtime captain Joe Milton last night.
That's right. One, I think Joe Milton, very charismatic guy. I think he has the personality to play quarterback. I don't know one way or the other with Aller, but just like I keep seeing him choke in these big moments. I also think Joe Milton, and this is just me watching it and kind of guessing, I don't think Joe Milton doesn't know what he's looking at. I just think his bad decisions are more trusting his arm too much. And he knows what he's seeing. He's just testing things he maybe shouldn't test. I think Drew Aller legitimately doesn't know what he's looking at. I think he's legitimately surprised about what the defense is doing, which you can learn. Like, he's still young. You can learn, but that's a different issue.
Yeah, that interception was rough in overtime to end that game. So he's too busy in those Instagram DMs, apparently, that Drew Aller.
Yeah.
All right.
No hesitation there.
Yeah, seriously. Good way to wrap it up. Some backup quarterback draft talk and quarterback draft talk. Good week of college football. So we'll wrap up there. Make sure you guys are locked on to Patriots Press Pass. I believe Mike and Tayler are coming up next to break down what they saw in that Patriots win over the Panthers. Excuse me. So please like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know when we'll be live. We'll be back later this week to break down this big one. Patriots going to Buffalo Sunday night primetime. Should be great stuff there. So make sure you guys are subscribed, locked on wherever. If you are on audio only, Apple Podcast, Spotify, you can subscribe there as well. That we would very appreciate that. Make sure you're also following Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for his Patriots coverage there. He'll have his show with David Andrews, Matt Dolph as well. You can go listen to that. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines and head over to patspulpit.com as well for our Patriots coverage online there as well. So thanks everyone for jumping on with us today. Have a wonderful rest of your week until we see you next. Go Sox, and we will see you guys soon.
Bye.